The wind moved through the alien trees in slow, whispering waves, like the planet itself was holding its breath. Captain Jace, Echo, Maddox didn't move. His heartbeat was steady, slower than normal, trained into a near-meditative rhythm. He lay prone on a high ridge, cloaked in adaptive camel mesh that shimmered faintly to match Cronus VII's dusky terrain. Just ahead, nestled into a jagged outcrop of obsidian stone, his sniper rifle rested on a smooth rock ledge. A silent predator watching its prey. Through the scope, Jace saw the aliens. Viric officers, 4 of them, clustered arrogantly atop a rise overlooking the valley base. Their armor, reflective and ceremonial, gleamed under Cronus VII's dual moons. One of them gestured toward the human outpost far below, laughing. A translator AI in Jace's earpiece spat out the rough equivalent. "Still crawling in dirt, I see. Captain," came the low voice of Staff Sergeant Ochoa through his calm bead. "Confirm visual?" "Confirmed," Jace replied quietly. 4 officers. Elevated ridge. Unshielded. The laughter continued. It wasn't just condescension, it was contempt. These weren't soldiers, not really. They were nobles, tacticians, the kind who thought lions on a holographic war map won battles. They saw humans as soft, chaotic, weak. Jace adjusted the rifle slightly. The target lock registered. 75 meters. No wind. No variables. His scope flickered, switching to thermal. Red silhouettes glowed against the cool rock behind them. Center mass on the tallest one. That laugh again. It grated. "Echo to all units," he murmured, calm but cold. "Targeting begins in 10. Keep noise discipline tight." Behind him, buried in the brush and boulders along the ridge, 3 other snipers lay in wait. They were ghosts. Just the way Echo had trained them. "Permission to record the shot?" Ochoa asked. "Why?" Jace said. "Just want to watch their faces later." "Focus." The Viric commander, tall, thick-skulled, and smug, raised his hand again, pointing at the human camp. "Leave the bunkers intact," he said. "Let the survivors rot. This world isn't worth bloodshed." "Arrogant bastard," Jace muttered. He exhaled slowly. The rifle bucked once. A muffled THMP. No echo. No noise beyond the fall of a single alien leader. The commander's helmet cracked inward, imploding like glass struck with a hammer. His body crumpled backward without a sound. The other officers froze, no screams, just sudden, raw confusion. Then panic. Jace didn't wait. 2, he ordered. Another shot. A second Viric dropped. The remaining 2 fumbled for cover, their polished gear betraying them in the moonlight. One rolled into a jagged crevice. The last tried to run back down the hill. 3. The runner dropped mid-stride. Only one remained, trapped behind a half-fallen slab of black stone. Jace let him live. A message was always louder when someone carried it back. "Ochoa, eyes on escapee? Visual. He's bleeding. Won't go far. Let him crawl." Jace sat back slowly, eyes never leaving the ridge. "Strike team, exfil north. 4 clicks. Stay invisible." He tapped his comms to a new frequency. "Echo 1 to base command. Viric officers neutralized. Possible retaliation within 24 hours. They'll come fast, loud, and pissed." A voice crackled back. "Copy that, Echo. Ridge team confirmed. Satellite picked up the impacts. Clean work. Keep low. They won't take this lightly." Jace disconnected. Behind him, Ochoa emerged from the brush. 3 confirmed kills. Last one marked and limping. "Guessing that was intentional?" "Always is," Jace said. They began moving silently through the trees, boots slipping soundlessly over Cronus moss. The terrain dipped into a narrow gully. Above them, the twin moons started to fade behind fast-moving clouds. "You think they'll send Zavrex?" Ochoa asked. Jace didn't answer right away. Zavrex. The Viric warlord. A battlefield relic and a living monument to Viric pride. He wouldn't ignore the humiliation of losing 4 officers to a handful of human sharpshooters. If they do, Jace finally said, we make sure he hears the shot before it hits. 2 hours later, at the edge of a makeshift forward camp, the sniper team returned under the red glow security lights. Engineers moved quietly between calm towers and drone rechargers. The smell of ozone and oil hung in the air. Major Rena Holbrook met Jace just inside the perimeter, helmet tucked under her arm. Heard you made some noise up north. They laughed, Jace said. Then their helmets broke. Holbrook gave a tight smile. That'll send a message. That's the point. Her face turned serious. We're picking up chatter. High-priority signals from orbit. Could be command ships. Then Zavrex is coming. She nodded. And he'll want a show of force. You ready? Jace looked toward the ridge, now hidden by forest and shadow. I've been ready since Earth, he said quietly. Let him come. On the ridge, the last Vyric officer crawled blindly through the rocks, armor cracked, blood leaking from beneath a jagged visor. His breathing rasped through shattered filtration. A human bullet. He whispered into his calms with trembling fingers. Ambush, ridge, dead? They were shadows. High above him, a stealth drone hovered silently, its camera lens watching. Recording. Because some messages were better delivered with video. And Jace Maddox always made sure his enemies saw what humanity was capable of. The Vyric Dominion cruiser Obsidian Spear broke through Cronus VI's upper atmosphere like a blade sliding through flesh, fast, searing, precise. Below, the jungle trembled under its sonic boom. Inside, Commander Zavrex stood in silence before the main viewport, arms crossed behind his back, jaw rigid. He stared at the still image hovering in front of him, a Vyric officer sprawled across a black ridge, helmet shattered, blood pooled beneath him like spilled ink. Zavrex's eyes burned. Play it again, he ordered. The recording looped, thermal feed from the drone the humans had allowed to see. 1 shot. 1 officer down. Another. A third. And the 4th running like a cadet fresh out of training. They let that one live, said his lieutenant Tharn. On purpose. Of course they did, Zavrex growled. They're apes. But clever ones. They want me angry. It worked. Zavrex turned slowly, armor creaking with each movement. Then let's give them a reason to regret it. Meanwhile, on the ground, Jace Maddox stood at the edge of a rocky cliffside, watching the Vyric cruiser descend in the distance. Its massive hull split the sky like a storm front, engines leaving trails of black smoke as it hovered over the eastern range. The forest shook beneath it. They brought him, Ochoa said, stepping beside him. Jace didn't reply right away. His eyes followed the ship until it disappeared behind the far ridge. Zavrex doesn't come to fight. He comes to gloat, Jace muttered. Think he'll bite? Oh, he'll bite, Jace said, slinging his rifle onto his back. But not where he thinks. That night, under a camouflage tarp nestled deep within the ruins of an abandoned Vyric structure, Jace's team gathered. The air inside was humid, laced with metal and mold. Maps flickered on a portable holotable, casting a soft blue glow over tired faces. We've intercepted chatter from Zavrex's tactical channels, said Sergeant Bell, tapping at her data pad. They've taken over Outpost R7. Converted it into a forward command center. Shielded perimeter. Guard rotations every 2 hours. They're planning something big. Too big to be routine, Ochoa added. Jace studied the layout. R7 was once a human outpost, barely defensible, mostly a relay station. But in the hands of the Vyric, with Zavrex's ego behind it, it was now a symbol. We go in tonight, Jace said. Bell raised an eyebrow. Tonight? That's a fortress now. That's also when they'll feel safest, he replied. Zavrex just landed. His command will still be organizing. New rotations haven't settled. They'll be showing off to him, strutting, not watching. Silence hung for a beat. Then Ochoa grinned. I've missed this side of you, Cap. They moved just after midnight. No lights, no comms chatter. 4 shadows gliding through the alien forest. The night was filled with strange, insect-like chirps and distant howls, but none of it registered. Every footfall was calculated. Every breath timed. They reached the edge of the outpost's perimeter just as the twin moons hit their apex. Through magnified lenses they saw it all, guards patrolling in stiff patterns, light towers scanning mechanically, and at the center, a large command dome pulsing with blue light. Inside that dome, Zavrex paced. "I want updates every 10 minutes, Zavrex barked, standing beneath a floating projection of Cronus VI's eastern valley. "These humans think they understand war. They've only tasted mercy." A junior officer shifted nervously. "There's been movement near the forest line. Drones detected minimal heat signatures, could be wildlife." Zavrex leaned in, eyes narrowing. "Or ghosts." "Sir? They'll be watching. Let them. We'll drown them in fire come dawn." Outside, the humans moved. Jace and Ochoa slipped into the power junction behind the eastern tower. Bell took the north watch blind. Rook set charges along the comm relay dish. Jace crouched beside the primary power conduit, fingers moving quickly across exposed wires. "We cut power to half the base," he whispered. "Drop their sensors, but leave the command dome untouched. They won't think the dome's vulnerable until it's too late." "Copy," Ochoa said. 10 seconds. 5, Jace whispered. And then, crack. The lights along the outer perimeter blinked out. Panic spread instantly through the Viric ranks. Guards scrambled. Orders flew through broken channels. Inside the dome, Zavrex's voice thundered. "Restore power! Now!" Jace's team didn't wait. They surged forward. Bell neutralized 2 guards with swift silence shots. Ochoa disabled a sensor tower with a quick EMP spike. Rook rigged an explosive near the dome's power backup. Jace moved inside the dome. It was surprisingly quiet, cool, sleek, filled with humming Viric consoles. Zavrex stood alone, armed, but unaware. For a moment, Jace simply watched him, this icon of domination, breathing hard, unaware that death stood just meters away. Then the alarm sounded. Zavrex turned. "Human!" Jace raised his weapon. "Commander!" Their eyes locked, warrior and warlord. But Jace didn't fire. Instead, he tapped his comm. "Package placed." Outside, Rook's voice came clear. "Copy that." Explosive primed. Zavrex lunged forward, roaring. Jace dropped a smoke grenade, vanished into the swirl, and sprinted out the rear hatch just as the charge detonated, ripping through the dome's systems, frying data cores, cracking the floor beneath Zavrex's command desk. The dome didn't collapse. But its heart was gone. Back at base, hours later, the team regrouped. Rook tossed his helmet to the ground, grinning. Guy screamed like a wounded boar. Ochoa collapsed into a crate, exhausted but satisfied. "That'll teach him to show off." Jace sat down last, silent, focused. "You didn't kill him," Bell noted. "No," he said. "Not yet." Bell frowned. "Why not?" "Because Zavrex doesn't fear bullets," Jace replied. "He fears humiliation." He looked out at the jungle, where the moons were beginning to fade behind a new dawn. "And we're just getting started." Smoke still curled from the wrecked command dome when Zavrex stepped outside, boots crunching over scorched metal and shattered glass. His cape, once ceremonial and pristine, trailed through the ash like a bloodstain. The dome still stood, but hollow. Gutted. His operations, his systems, his plans, gone in one night. The humans hadn't destroyed the structure. They'd embarrassed it. They'd embarrassed him. "Have every drone in the sector airborne within the hour," Zavrex snarled to his aide. "No more shadows. No more games." "Yes, Commander." Zavrex didn't watch him leave. His eyes were fixed on the distant tree line where they'd escaped. His jaw tightened. "They wanted me angry," he whispered. "They succeeded." Jace stood at the edge of forward base Echo, helmet tucked beneath one arm, eyes locked on a satellite feed playing over the command tent's wall. It showed Zavrex pacing through the remains of his dome like a caged beast. You burned half his comm network and knocked out his data core, Major Hulbrick said, arms crossed beside him. That wasn't a raid. That was personal. It had to be, Jace replied. He doesn't understand loss. Just control. You think this'll bait him? Jace's tone stayed even. No. This'll break him. The tent quieted. Hulbrick tapped her fingers on the table. They're moving drones. Swarms of them. Scans show heavy patrols in every direction. Your team won't be able to breathe out there. They won't have to, Jace said. They'll be gone before the drones arrive. By mid-afternoon, Jace's team was back in the field, climbing a jagged outcrop known as Knife Spine Ridge. The rocks were razor-sharp, wind-whipped, and riddled with old survey tunnels. It offered the highest point in the valley and a clean shot toward Zavrex's fallback base. Why here? Ochoa asked, panting as they scaled a narrow ledge. Jace didn't stop climbing. Because he thinks we're running. And we're not. Jace pulled himself up the final ledge, rolled onto flat stone, and looked down at the Viric staging area half a mile below. No. We're circling. Bell crawled up beside him. He's shifted most of his troops to the south flank. He thinks we'll hit his convoy line next. Jace smiled faintly. Let him think that. They set up quickly. Camouflage netting. Suppressors. Thermal blockers. Every move rehearsed. Every shot pre-calculated. They didn't speak much. They didn't need to. The plan was simple: strike hard, vanish faster. At sunset, the Viric convoy started moving. 6 hovercrafts loaded with fuel cells, weapons, and ground infantry. A mobile command truck in the center. A small aerial escort above. Zavrex was in the truck. Jace knew it. He waited. 1 minute passed. Then 2. Then. Target locked, Bell whispered. Middle vehicle. Rear seat window. Confirmed visual on command crest. Jace adjusted his scope. Zavrex sat inside, facing forward, unaware of the crosshairs now centered on his chest. Say the word, Bell said. Jace hesitated. Just for a second. Then he said, no shot. Change of plan. Bell blinked. What? Not yet. Instead, Jace turned his scope slightly, angled up toward the escort drones above. He found the largest one and fired. The drone dropped like a stone, crashing into the last hovercraft. It exploded on impact, metal shredding, fire spreading, soldiers scattering in every direction. Then chaos. The convoy veered sideways. The command truck skidded and slammed into a rock face. Guards ran, shouted, fired blindly into the trees. And Jace's team was already gone, melted back into the ridge before the second explosion hit. Zavrex stood inside the smoking wreck of his convoy, eyes scanning the cliff above. He hadn't been wounded, just thrown. But his pride had been gutted again. No warning. No trace. How do they keep slipping through? He demanded. His aide didn't answer. He turned furious. Well? They don't follow patterns, sir. They improvise. Adapt. They're animals. Zavrex roared. They fire from shadows and call it strategy. They hide behind trees and call it war. The aide said nothing. Zavrex stood still, fist shaking. They're not trying to win. What are they trying to do? The aide asked. Zavrex's voice dropped. They're trying to humiliate me. Back at the temporary hideout, Jace crouched beside a flickering holomap. The terrain blinked under his finger as he traced a line toward the west ridge. He didn't take the bait, Ochoa said. He wasn't supposed to, Jace replied. You had a clean shot. I need him to feel the shot coming next time. I want him second-guessing every step. Every order. Bell dropped her gear with a sigh. You're playing a long game. No, Jace said quietly. I'm setting the stage. He turned to them. We hit him tomorrow. One last time. Direct. Public. No cover. Ochoa raised an eyebrow. You serious? I want him exposed. I want the entire sector watching when he fails. Belle's eyes narrowed. And what if we fail? Jace looked straight at her. We don't. That night, Zavrax stared into a cracked mirror in his quarters, alone. He touched the burn on his shoulder where shrapnel had grazed him earlier. Tomorrow, he whispered, I end this. But somewhere deep inside, behind layers of training and pride, a quiet voice whispered something he didn't want to hear. What if they're not the prey? The dawn broke like a blade across the horizon, sharp, bright, unrelenting. Cronus Vi's morning mist lifted slowly, revealing the northern ridge like a stage. Below, a new Viric command zone had been erected overnight, tactical tents, armored units, aerial cannons. A statement. One final show of force. And Zavrax stood in the center of it, motionless. He wore full battle armor now, charcoal plating, deep red crest across his chest, his war mask latched in place. He was no longer a commander. He was bait. And he knew it. Behind him, Viric officers watched nervously as drones circled above and rifle squads lined up across the field. No more arrogance. No more laughter. Just tension thick as plasma glass. Zavrax raised his arm. Humans! His voice boomed across the canyon, loud and sharp. I know you're out there. Hiding. Watching. Silence. I'm done playing. Up above, Jace Maddox lay prone in a ravine, scope trained on Zavrax's chest. He didn't blink. Beside him, Belle whispered. It's a trap. I know, Jace said. He's exposed. Exactly. Ochoa's voice cut through the calm. Sniper teams are locked in. 10 of us spread across the southern cliff. We're ready. Jace kept his eye to the lens. Zavrax stood like a statue, daring them to strike. Not yet, Jace said. Zavrax took another step forward. The ground beneath him crunched, amplified by the silence. I came here to conquer this world. I offered peace. You spat on it. I gave warning. You mocked it. He paused, scanning the trees. But today I give you a gift. He pulled off his helmet. Slowly. Deliberately. It clanged against the stone at his feet. His face, scarred, proud, and burning with fury, was now exposed to every scope. No shield. No armor, he shouted. One of you? One shot. Take it, Belle whispered. Is he serious? He thinks we won't do it, Jace said. He thinks he still controls this. Ochoa chimed in, voice tense. Orders, Captain? Jace steadied his breath. Hold fire. Zavrax waited. No movement. No flash. Just the wind. For the first time in days, a crack appeared in his expression, just for a second. Doubt. Small but real. He turned slightly, as if to leave. Jace whispered. Now. Across the canyon, 5 rifles fired in perfect sequence. Not at Zavrax. At the officers behind him. Helmets shattered mid-sentence. One fell to the ground. Another crumpled backward. The rest scrambled for cover. Zavrax spun, wide-eyed. Then the final shot rang out, Jace's shot. Straight through Zavrax's shoulder. He dropped to one knee, grunting in pain, clutching the burn marks smoking through his armor. He wasn't dead. But he wasn't standing tall anymore. Chaos erupted. Viric guards fired into the cliffs, drones swarmed erratically, searchlights flared, but the shooters were already gone. Jace's team melted back into the rocks, sliding into tunnels mapped days before. Inside the command base, sirens wailed. Zavrax stumbled to his feet, blood trickling down his arm. His officers were dead. His elite guard scattered. His pride, bleeding out faster than the wound in his shoulder. An hour later, Jace stood at the peak of Razor Hill, signal booster beside him. He activated the transmission, open frequency, unsecured. A direct line to Zavrax's ship. Commander, Jace said calmly. You're listening. So let's make it simple. Zavrex, seated in a makeshift medbay, clenched his jaw. You had the power. The weapons. The numbers. You had control. And still, we broke you. Because this isn't about brute force. Jace's voice never rose. This is about knowing when to strike, where to strike, and who to leave alive to tell the story. He paused. Just long enough. You underestimated us. You laughed. You lost. Then he cut the signal. Zavrex stared at the silent screen for a long moment. Then he stood. Despite the pain. Despite the torn armor. Recall ground forces? He said. His officers hesitated. Sir? I said, recall them. We're pulling out. But I won't have my soldiers hunted by ghosts. Not another day. By nightfall, Virik engines roared skyward. From high above the ridge, Jace watched the ships vanish into the black. No celebration. No cheers. Just quiet vindication. Bells stepped up beside him. He's gone. For now, Jace said. Think he'll be back? Maybe. But next time, he won't come laughing. She smiled faintly. So, we won? Jace looked over the valley, scorched and scarred. No, he said. We reminded them why they don't. He turned away from the edge, shoulders heavy, but steady. War wasn't over. But one chapter had ended. And it ended with a laugh silenced by glass.